Hello everyone, welcome to the first part on my series of how Aronian won Tata Steel. As we know, if you've been following the chess world, he won the tournament in quite impressive fashion. After every major chess tournament, I intend to take a look at all of the winners' games and kind of present some of the key moments to you. Some of the games are going to be more interesting than others, and I'll go through maybe the entire game. And in some games, perhaps I'll just go through a few key moments. A few thoughts on Aronian's result in this tournament. Unbelievable. I look at pretty much every tournament, I look at the winners' games, and as far as I could tell, Aronian played, it seemed like he was Carlsen, except with opening prep. I mean, he played outstanding technical chess, like, unbelievable. And you're going to see that as we kind of focus on his 11 games throughout the next week and a half. His first round game, not super exciting. He's playing Harikrishna, an Indian grandmaster, and he has the black pieces. So, first question to the viewers, and when I pose these questions, you should pause your video and kind of try to figure out what you would do. My first question is, what should black play in this position? So if you're ready, I'm going to say the answer now, so pause it if you need more time to think. So the white knight has just played knight a4. I probably should have mentioned that, but I didn't. My bad. But white has just gone knight to a4. Clearly with the idea to go knight to c5. So we have a choice here. Choice 1 is play b6 and keep the knight out of c5. Choice 2, complete our development. Allow the knight to come to c5, but kick it away next move with b6. Which of these moves seems best? In this case, it's good not to get too fancy and to simply play b6. The reason is, if we let the knight come to c5, after bishop c8, for example, let's say g4 even, kicks the knight away, king to g3. After a b, first of all, the knights right now are dominating, so we kind of have to kick one of them out. But now the knight gets to go to this very nice d3 square. And all of a sudden, white's pieces are all pretty good. The c-pawn's a little weak. Rook c1 could come. And just this knight can go to f4. It can replace this knight on e5 sometimes. White has clearly the preferable position. If we compare that to what Aronian played, he played b6. Now there's a few key differences in this position and the last one. So first, the knight on a4 is not as well placed. So let's say white does the same thing. Let's say we go knight h6, planning to take this because of the pin, and white goes king g3. Now we can go knight f7, and there's no way for white to quickly get his knight back to d3 and onto e5, which is the key square. So like in the other position, the white knight could just go to d3 now, and prepare to recapture an e5, and still maintain this really nice knight. But in this case, black is doing okay. So the main point is, no need to be greedy and get your pieces developed first. Stop the knight from coming to c5 immediately, and then it's just a little tougher for black to maneuver around now. In the game, I'm sorry, for white to maneuver. So in the game, white went rook to d2, and now this knight is still kind of out of play. Rook on a to e8 was played. Knight to c3, and you know, white would like to do something like knight b2 to d3, but with this knight on f5, it's not so easy, because as soon as the knight comes to d3, we can capture on d4, although somehow it still looks more logical to me to try for knight b2. But he went knight to c3. Sorry, it's white-black's move. Rook e8, knight c3, rook to e7, rook to c1. Black just shuffled his bishop back to e8. And the key to this position, by the way, white does have more, like a nice knight on e5 and some weakness here. The problem is this pawn on d4 is always weak, and that kind of restricts white's activity. His rook is tied down defending it, and that's kind of the main problem here for white in terms of generating any serious advantage. But he played knight e2. Black went knight to g7 with the idea to swing the knight to e6 and continue to put pressure on d4. White played, what the heck did he do? Oh, no, I didn't skip a move. Yes, I did. What? Rook e1 was played last move. Oh, knight g7, rook e1. Sorry, I didn't skip a move. Knight e6. Knight to c1. Finally trying to come to this square on d3. So what should black do about that? Another nice key moment. Actually, this is a very important position. Pause your video. Try to figure out what you would do. This is probably maybe one of the most important moments of the game. All right. So the key moment here, the key thing here is knight to d3 is coming. However, there is a tempting move that's very easy to fall for. You're like, wait a second, this pawn on d4 defends the knight on e5. Why can't black just take it? After rook takes knight. And then black is up a pawn. The key is you have to be very tactically aware here. This move loses the game. It loses the game because knight to c4 check. And after pawn takes c4, rook takes rook, the king must move away from the defense of this e7 rook. And white is winning. And if the king simply moves right away, if king goes to d7, we just take here, the pawn is pinned, white is up a piece. So there's a perfect opportunity to go wrong with knight takes d4. On top of that, we want to stop this reorganizing move of knight to d3. What does black do? The very nice move, rook to f4. Attacking d4, forcing white to defend it in some way. And after knight to e2, black played back to f5. White went back. Actually, white went to c3. Black went back to c4. Sorry, f4. I'm bad at notation, obviously. Knight e2, rook f5. And they agreed to a draw. Even these kind of boring draws, because you look on chessbase.com or somewhere, and they'll just be like, black drew the game easily, was never in any danger. But listen, the majority of people watching this game are well under 1600, or definitely under 1800. So every little moment, every little tactical opportunity, you can't just gloss over that. It's easy to miss these things that I demonstrated. Especially knight takes d4, you lose the game immediately. Yeah, Aronian's not going to miss it. But sometimes I feel like coverage of these games is really unfair and really kind of doesn't pay enough respect to the actual strength of the people reading the articles. We're not all grandmasters. We don't ever understand intuitively every intricacy. So to say it was just an easy draw, unfair, because there's a few moments I showed you where if you play the wrong move, white gets some advantage. But fortunately, Aronian played the correct move. So thanks for watching, and tomorrow we're going to pick it up with another game from this tournament. Thanks, bye-bye.